Kodak built the machine that would kill it. Then it locked that machine in a drawer for 20 years and let it kill the company anyway. This is that machine. 8 pounds of spare parts, 23 seconds to save a single blurry black and white photo onto a cassette tape. In 1975, it became the first digital camera ever built, and the young engineer who made it walked into a room of Kodak executives certain they would be thrilled. They were not thrilled. They were afraid, because they understood in an instant the thing most people still get wrong about this story. Everyone thinks Kodak died because it missed the digital revolution. It didn't miss it. Kodak invented it, saw exactly where it was going, and chose to bury it. To understand why Kodak died, you first have to understand how absurdly spectacularly it won. For most of the 20th century, Kodak didn't just lead photography, it was photography. By 1976, the company controlled roughly 90% of all film sold in the US and 85% of all cameras. Its founder, George Eastman, had built the empire on one of the most elegant business ideas ever conceived, and it had a name borrowed from shaving, the razor and blades model. The idea is simple. You sell the razor cheap, sometimes even at a loss, because once the customer owns the razor, they have to keep coming back to buy the blades, and the blades are where you make your fortune. Kodak's razor was the camera. Cheap, simple, sold at thin margins. You press the button, the famous slogan went, "We do the rest." And the blades? The film, the photo paper, the processing chemicals. Every single time you took a picture, you burned through Kodak film. And then you paid Kodak again to develop it and print it on Kodak paper with Kodak chemicals. So Kodak wasn't really a camera company. It was a chemical company that happened to give cameras a way to sell film. And for 80 years, that was the smartest business on the planet. In 1973, Kodak hired a young electrical engineer named Steve Sasson. This was already unusual because Kodak hired chemists and mechanical engineers. Film was chemistry and cameras were machinery. Sasson was handed what looked like a throwaway assignment. Take a look at a new kind of sensor called a charge-coupled device, a CCD, and see if it was good for anything. The result was that 8-pound contraption, 1/100th of a megapixel, 23 seconds to save an image to tape. To see the photo, you had to plug the tape into a custom player wired to a television. Then he did what any proud engineer would do. He showed it to management. And here's the moment the whole story turns on. They weren't excited, but they weren't dismissive either. They were uneasy. They weren't too stupid to see the future. They saw it instantly. A camera with no film, no paper, no processing, no blades. So Kodak did the coldly logical thing. It patented the technology, and it would actually earn substantial money from those patents for years, but it chose not to build it, not to sell it, not to tell anyone. The most disruptive invention in the history of the industry went into a drawer. Now the easy conclusion is that this was cowardice or stupidity. It wasn't. And this is the part that makes Kodak's story genuinely tragic instead of just embarrassing. Kodak kept studying digital. And in the early 1980s, the company's own market research reached a stunning conclusion. Digital photography would eventually replace film. And Kodak had roughly 10 years to prepare before the threat became real. And it still couldn't move. Because when you actually look at the machine Kodak was trapped inside, every single lever pointed the wrong way. Growth in digital actively destroyed Kodak's profitability. By 2001, Kodak was losing around $60 on every digital camera it sold. Then there's the dependency. Film wasn't one product among many. It was around 70% of the company's profits. You can't set fire to 70% of your profit and survive the quarter. And Wall Street, which prized that fat, predictable film revenue, would punish any pivot the moment it started. And then there's identity. Kodak didn't just sell film, Kodak was film. Its factories, its scientists, its hometown of Rochester, New York, tens of thousands of jobs, all of it was built on chemical imaging. Going digital meant firing your own people, gutting your own town, and admitting that the thing that made you great was now worthless. You can watch the trap snap shut in real time. In 1989, Kodak engineers built a genuinely modern digital camera. Memory cards, image compression, the real thing. Marketing looked at it and said, "We could sell this. We won't, because it would eat film sales." Through the late 1990s and 2000s, digital cameras got cheaper, better, and faster, built by Canon, Nikon, and Sony, companies with no film business to protect and no reason to hold back. Then phones swallowed cameras entirely. Film sales didn't decline gently. They fell off a cliff. And Kodak, for all its warning, was still structurally a film company scrambling to become something else far too late. It had spent the 80s and 90s on distractions, at one point buying a pharmaceutical company for over $5 billion, anything but a full, painful commitment to the digital future it had invented. Here's the proof it was the trap, not the technology. Kodak wasn't the only film giant staring down the digital wave. On the other side of the world sat Fujifilm. Same core business, same razor and blades model, the same meteor bearing down. But Fuji did the one thing Kodak couldn't. It accepted that film was dying and moved on without flinching, pouring its chemicals expertise into new fields like healthcare and pharmaceuticals. Today, healthcare is Fujifilm's single biggest business, larger than imaging. So what actually keeps Kodak alive today? Chemistry. The one division quietly growing is called Advanced Materials and Chemicals, and it survives on the exact skill that made film so profitable in the first place. The century-old expertise of coating precise layers of molecules onto a plastic backing sheet. The same core competency now goes into things like battery components and pharmaceutical ingredients. It is not a happy ending exactly. As of 2025, Kodak was still fragile, warning investors of substantial doubt about its ability to keep operating with far more short-term debt than cash, scrambling to plug the gap with money pulled from its own pension fund. The Eastman Kodak of today will never be the titan it was in 1976. It will never again employ 140,000 people or command a 90% market share of global memory. The empire is gone, but what remains is a fascinating hybrid. It's a pharmaceutical manufacturer, a commercial printing supplier, and the sole survivor keeping the magic of analog chemistry alive for a new generation. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.